Welcome, everybody. Episode 187 of the Winners and Losers Show, starring Hank Thompson. I don't host the show. I star in the show, okay? I'm in it. I'm in the mood. I'm in the right brain space. What helps me get into the mental space I need to be in, a very tenuous thing to stay on top of the tower of snarling orangutans that is my consciousness, is the neighbor got a drum kit. The neighbor's over there drumming. That's fun. That's not at all driving me absolutely fucking bonkers. Jesus. It's killing me. It's killing me, man. I put my ear up to I was like, okay, what's going on? They were doing this a couple weekends ago. This is not okay. Maybe I did plan on saying something about this because it's all I can think about because I can't ignore noises. It's that fucking autism shit, right? And a couple weekends ago, and then like a little while later, more, a little more. Then he gets back at it about 6:30 at night. He had guitar over there. He's a nice guy too, honestly. So it's like it's one of those maybe he doesn't realize. And last weekend was okay, and then today, just like I'm getting ready to go, getting ready to launch my beautiful words, my beautiful thoughts right into your face and your mouth. No, your ears. No, sorry, not your mouth. That's gross. And it's just like this low frequency bassy. So I put I'm like, are they banging? Is that banging? You know, I mean, that's annoying, but sometimes banging makes noise, right? Your bed thing might touch the wall depending on what phase of the process you're in, which 20 seconds of effort you're at. No, I don't think it's that. I've heard him play guitar before, so that supports the music theory. Could be some kind of construction thing, right? Like I've done woodworking a bunch on my balcony. That's partly why one of the stresses of doing it in a place like a busy city is I feel terrible about all the noise I would make. I would be out there kind of noisy. The old lady next door was like, I like their noise. You sound like a working guy. Like, you know, she's like, oh, good. Reminds her of her childhood in the early 1800s when the guild down the river was working on the latest crown molding or some shit. But anyway, you know, you feel bad, especially using power tools and stuff. But fucking drums could be exercise equipment. Could be boxing. Could be. I don't think it's boxing though. I'm pretty sure it's not boxing. Could be maybe just some treadmill or elliptical. You know, exercise can be kind of commotioniness, you know, tumultuous, cacophonianess, but with your body, not so much. No, I don't think it's that. Pretty sure, you know, might be. But that why would you be exercising like for 30 minutes at a time, four different times over a Saturday? So it all supports the drumming. I've seen Benedict Cumberbatch movies where he plays Sherlock Holmes with Bilbo Baggins, young Bilbo Baggins, the guy who stars in the movie with Jeremy Irons about the space. I'm talking about that boring fucking show, dolphins flying off into space. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Not impressed. I know that's one of those weird things. People my age and probably a little bit younger, definitely older. Very formative comedy experience to read Hitchhikers with Douglas Adams. I read it and I was like, it's clever. I mean, the guy's got some, I'm not saying there's nothing going on here, but it never really registered for me. And then that one actor who played Bilbo, young Bilbo in the Hobbit films. This is how we do the podcast, by the way. Welcome. I don't hear the drumming. Part of the obsessiveness with the brain, the way it works is my head is full of tiger cages, and whenever stuff comes along that challenges it, especially noises, sound waves, and photons tend to be the things, but also like phone calls from my mother where she is worried. She called during the rainstorm. Are you okay? I'm like, okay, good. Now I'm going to be worried about my mom's worries. But it's like opening a tiger cage. It's like someone comes along. But the noises, the photons and the sound waves do it all the time. So anywhere there's no photons or sound waves, it sucks. Sometimes it's not so bad. It all depends on what's going on. I was driving my car, trying to pull out of a parking lot. A little bit tricky. Not very bad. But it was like one of those. Either if you get lucky, you can make a left, but otherwise I'll go right and flip it around. But there was a motorcycle behind me in the parking lot, just rumbling. I kind of like the motorcycle sound. But in my head, I'm starting to panic because it also sets off the anxiety reactor. It sucks, man. This is autistic burnout stuff. And so, like, yeah, my mom called. She's worried because CNN made her scared because there was a whole bunch of rain last week. And then I go like, Mom, I've been trying to get you not to call me when you're worried about me, because I know that's like a normal thing to check on me to see if I'm drowning. And the water was only up to my nipples. It was only, and I have like a row up here. That's why no, I was fine. We had a little rain. We had a lot of rain. We were good. I live in one of the things LA does well is drain off a bunch of that rain. It goes into these concrete rivers that flood all of our glitter and drugs into the ocean, so the fish can have a rave. Fish love it. Fish love all that tire dust and all those microplastics. And so my mom calls, and the drumming happens, and the photons hit my eyes oftentimes in certain configurations. It also is mood dependent. Or the cat's behind me. Is she behind me? Fuck, that's in my eye. Fuck, are you kidding me? God is just up there going like, let's just get him. Put a bit in his eye. Fuck him. Take away all of his hair. And it's just like the tiger. It's like opening the tiger cage. So this is something I would talk about in the book if I ever get around to doing that autism book that I keep fantasizing about, is like caging tigers. That's what I do all day long, is I just make sure that I keep the tigers calm and in their cages, and I avoid things that lift up the tiger cages, because then I have to go over there and close it, and that's what burns up the energy, uses up the spoons that we autists, I don't like that word autist. I wouldn't knock anybody who uses it for themselves, but I just, that's not what I'm going to be using. But I prefer autistic arenos. That's what I'm going to be. You get to decide your own language when you have your own mental problems. That's why I still like the word crazy. I know that's one of those words that kind of gets up in people's craw. And if you don't want to be me calling you crazy, I don't think it's fine. I'll try not to. I would try to respect that. But I don't mind the word crazy. I'm fucking crazy. I'm fucking psycho, man. It's good. Yeah. What am I getting at? This is how I start the show. This is what we do. I haven't done it in like a month. It's February 17th. I'm still hungover from Valentine's Day. I had 14 heart-shaped steaks. Oh man, those last 13 really were tough to put down, really hard. But they were heart-shaped, and I was feeling romantic. Don't have a lot of romance in my life. There's no romantic masturbation. Are we does that fuck up the algorithm? I hate these algorithms. Ban AI, ban the algorithms. For God's sakes, what are we doing to ourselves? There's no romantic masturbation. Not even on Valentine's Day. Not even with candy or candles. Although, honestly, I think this is going to be a little sexist. Get ready for it. I think women can do romantic masturbation. I don't think men can, though. Sorry. Sorry, world. Cancel me. No. Yeah. You light a candle. Put your toe, in a bathtub or something. That's fine. What am I doing now? I had one Valentine's Day with a human, back when in my late 20s, the period during which I was operating somewhat normally, although I was also very depressed and drinking constantly. But yeah, there was one Valentine's. I mean, I had, maybe a couple. Yeah, but like one that was like, we're going to go get, oh my God, it's Valentine's Day. Yeah, one of those. But, people do that shit every year. It's been like decades for me, it feels like. I haven't had sex since the 1600s. I have a mummy penis. It is gross. It is all shriveled up, and some Victorian household has it set up on a platter for gnawing upon it during their next party. Look it up. Look up Victorian mummy food or consumption part. They used to bring mummies. This is how deranged the people were from. The English. I'm part English. Okay, last name is Thompson. That's an English last name, I think. I don't know. Probably. I'm pretty sure it is. I'm mostly German, Swedish stuff, but they used to fucking import mummies, corpses, old antiquity things, among the very kinds of loot, lay it out, have all their rich fucking people come over, because this is this upper class stuff, and they would break off pieces of the bodies and eat them. Almost in such a on-the-nose kind of symbolic way of representing what Europe and European colonization was doing to the world, that you couldn't write. If you wrote that in a script or for a movie or a show, you'd be like, what are you doing? That's crazy. Why? They did that. Look it up. Google it. Anyway, Yeah, it's nice to get on the thing. I love to talk. It's like my favorite thing in the world. That's why I was so annoyed by the fucking drumming, man. Couldn't because I was just getting ready to do the show. Yeah, everything. Let's see. What do we got? I've been working super hard on my project. Someday, one of the man, it keeps getting delayed, months and months and stuff. So we're full steam ahead. It's keeping me very busy, and I'm excited to share some details about it when I can. But boy, stay tuned though. Please stay tuned. If you're still into this somehow, I'm sure you'll definitely be into it. You see this guy here? You see this little fella? You see this fella sitting at the desk? By the way, Lenovo, free advertising for you there, okay, company? Come on. You know what to do. Come on, free advertising. Computer, I don't give a shit what brand I got, as long as it can hold browser cache and do a little video editing. Come on, Lenovo. Come on, you know what to do. Come on, Banana. I'm trying to scam. Is that scamming? I'm trying to get the interest of corporate sponsors from the. Yeah. So winners. I got Perfect Union still up on there. That's what I used to try to. I tried to do this. I tried to make my political show portion called Perfect Union based on the Constitution's bullshit line that we're already perfect, but we want to be more perfect. And then there's a whole other entity that's like this, one of the best like labor and news outfits going on right now called More Perfect Union. They have purple stuff, the graphics and shit, logos and things. And I didn't want to feel like I was stealing from them. Plus, it wasn't really working for me. I would, you can go back and listen to some of that stuff. Bald on the Inside, though. Honestly, this is actually kind of fun. Going to try to keep this one short. Already, clearly not going to do that. Going to do a little Valheim recording after this and some setup, I think. I love that game. I keep listening. When I listen back to these, I hear myself breathe. And I'm like, God damn, man, dude, just fucking go work out. Go work out or don't breathe in the mic so much. And so I have a new post I'm working on here coming up. This is the one post I have up on baldonthe.inside.substack.com, which is the thing I wrote about the Young Turks union busting and the lies that were told about us, about the union that Jank told the audience. He didn't say it specifically or precisely in these words, but it was written about as he was with various reporters, and it was as they spread this conspiracy, complete bullshit. They never verified it. They never checked it. They spread this complete bullshit conspiracy that Nancy Pelosi was the originator of the union at the Young Turks because he was running for Congress. And so she activated her Ayatsi minions and they coerced or convinced his workers into starting up this union in order to compel him to eventually bust the union, like to do the dumbest thing he could have done, which is just crazy. Like, why would you, if it actually was a conspiracy, it doesn't take a fucking genius to go, aha, Nancy, I see what you're doing. You're trying to get me to become a union buster, but guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to say yes to the union and I'm going to outsmart you. So it's just such a weird, it's just the logic. So that's what's on there. But anyway, point is I'm writing some stuff now. I've been actually working on a piece about hair. Who wants to hear a guy talk about hair? You do. You should go click on it. Especially if you're listening to this in the future from right now, from whence I'm at. I'm hoping to get it up in a couple of days. I just started writing about baldness. I kind of repurposed some of my material from my old stand-up days because I had a pretty good jokes, not bragging or anything, but above average. And about how I'm losing my hair again. That's all this face thing I've been yammering on about all these times, especially since I've chosen a career putting my face on camera. Look at his neck. I got horrible skin. Fucking gross ass skin. It's like I'm gonna be all jowly, probably. Could be worse, obviously, but yeah, body image issues, all kinds of fucked up stuff going on. But I'm losing hair on the side of my head, my body hair, my arm hair's losing. Might have been medical interventions. Have I used those? No. It's too stressful. What kind of fucking society is this? I am blaming society, but it's also my fault. We have our own personal responsibility within the greater structure. And the good news is we get to hurt ourselves internally and blame each other so that nothing ever changes or fixes because it's making tons of money for the people that are already benefiting. But yeah, it's about beards, about men. This is actually originated as a stand-up concept. I never turned it into any kind of onstage joke or anything. It feels like it's been hundreds of years since I've done stand-up. But the sort of quick and dirty premise is that having a beard is the most feminine thing a man can do. It's a way for men to be in touch with their inner feminine side without having to reveal that there's some femininity happening within a man. So it's kind of about gender. And so I get into gender stuff and gender things and whatnot and talk about my own perceptions on that, which I'm sure are fucking, damaging and misguided, but, coming from a good place, I hope. So what else we got? Oh, yeah, I'm trying to get, this is an Ezra Klein quote. Let's worry about that in a second here. Still working on the cat project. It's so weird. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done is be nice to a cat that was dying outside my building. And I just wanted to feed this poor little girl. And then I felt all this connected emotions and stuff. And so I thought that we'd bring her in. And I knew I was signing up for a bunch of hassle, but I thought that trade-off would happen where there's barf and there's piss and there's shit and there's shit dust and there's cat food and there's hair and there's fucking sharp nails and all that is one side. But I love the cat. I need the cat. I just say you'd be the love of the cat. If I didn't love the cat, my love would be gone. Not romantic kind, okay? Companionship, the good kind. Well, I mean, romantic's good too, but I feel a little bit of that. I feel like a little bit of that. And she gets up on bed. She's such a good cat. It's so hard. She's a high value cat. She smokes cigars. She drinks whiskey. She does podcasts where she talks about how men aren't men anymore. High value, very high value. What do they call those? Is that the word they use? High value men, high prominence, high status. She's a fucking good looking cat. All right. Okay. You know what? I got to do it. I got to play the video here. Here, let's pull it up. Might not even have to edit this shit. Let's see. Even needs a home. I didn't finish this edit. I'm embarrassed to put this on the internet because it is not complete as a video editor. The text is way too big and I want to reframe the thing. And it's honestly, I watched it again. It's too fast. But here's this part. I've played this in the last podcast. We'll only go this far. Change the... There you go. Watch this part where she wants me to pet her. Look at my hairy arm. Look at that hairy ass arm there. Oh, watch. Sorry, I've just got a hairy fucking arm again. Watch. I don't have any of those hairs anymore. Oh, look at all that hair. Look at that big fuzzy hairy arm. They're all gone. It's all fucking... Stress will do a lot to a man. Alopecia, probably. I don't know. Will Smith, rescue me. I'll be your third wife or second wife. You can go beat up people who make fun of me. Come on. Yeah. So that's like the first day I was giving her like chunks of meat from my... That's bacon. She wasn't really... It was like, I think it was... She's a little fuzzy. That's shrimp. Luxury. I like that shot. So this is too long. This is 6 minutes, and this actually cuts off at the whole part where I start talking about how fucked up I am in my brain. I need help. That's it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll finish this as like a thing eventually, like, kind of like a little. I feel like on TikTok this will blow up, and then everybody will go, "Oh my god, he's so smooth, and he needs help with this cat." I need like a whole community to be like, "We got to get this cat a better place." I care so much for the cat. Partly though, the problem is it's not that I'm cold, it's that I can't not be too hot in the emotional register about how the cat, and so then I get all obsessive about how the fact that I've got a fucking cat trapped in my room, and she deserves like a nice, fun little active house. Like this is sort of a bit, again, not doing stand up, but God, why do I always bring that up? But it's because it's the only part of my life I felt decent. Like my dream is that she is adopted by a family that has like a really like cool, precocious 8-year-old girl, like an 8-year-old, like a cool, because 8-year-olds you can start taking care of cat. And I'm not saying full responsibility for the cat or something, but like loves the cat, falls in love with the cat, goes through all her whole life with the cat. And then when she goes off to college, the cat dies of old age. 10 years later, 18, goes off to college, gets a phone call from mom. or probably a text, maybe even a TikTok. Dead cat. That's my dream. I want to destroy a college girl's week in 10 years. See? Come on, internet. Let's make it happen. So here's me bringing her for some food. Look at how skinny she is. She was living on that. I'm going to stop at a point up here. Am I not benefit? Here we go. This is it. Look at the hairy arm.
There you go. That's nice. You're sweet. You're sweet.
Here, this is the moment. Come on. Boom. She says, touch me again. Do it again. Do it again. And I did. And I've been touching her every fucking day since. She's such a good freaking cat, man. She'd be so wonderful for somebody. I just have this psycho head that I can't do. It's too much variable for me. I just want to be in my goddamn headphones because the only time I feel good in my body is when I'm focusing and I'm just dialed in on something. Otherwise, the tigers are all getting out of their cages. And I have a literal tiger in my room that I can't cage. And she deserves love. She deserves heart-shaped steaks. I'm cutting back on her food. Been doing like this food routine. Dry food in the morning, then I mix that dry food in with her wet food at night. But she's been not eating all of it, so I'm cutting it down. But I don't want to solve any of these fucking cat problems. I don't want to deal with any of this shit, man. They're expensive as fuck too, man. The vets, going to a vet, it was we did 2 vet visits. The first one, my roommate paid for it because he's a saint and he can't kill a bug. I'm trying to get him to kill a bug. Chasing him around with a little silverfish wiggling. Like, kill the fucking bug, man. Kill the bug. Why are you like this? Be mean. No, he's just such a gentle, sweet man. But so he of course didn't want to see the cat. We made a decision together to like get her indoors, and of course I had to confirm it with my lord of land, and I did, and he was fine with it because we have barf colored carpeting, which is one of the best things you can do if you're gonna have a cat. So yeah, man, it was fine. What the hell was I saying? Yeah, I don't know. It's fine. Someone adopt this freaking cat. Look at it. There it is. Come on. Who doesn't want that? She's not as skinny as she is in that picture, but that's when she was starting to feel like a little more comfortable and stuff and just hanging out, feeling relaxed. Ah, it's just such a strange nightmare. Because I know that if I turn around, I think she's asleep right now. She does tend to sleep most of the day. But there's times I turn around and she's just sitting behind me, being disappointed, just bored, disappointed, and then I start spiraling about that. And I'll turn around and she's not there, which is sometimes worse, because then it causes another different round of crazy thinking. So all I need to do is just be in a video game or a video editing project, and I should be meditating and exercising and having romantic interactions with people my age, or slightly younger, or slightly older, or a lot older. And I don't need an animal in my room. It is so many more variables than I want to deal with right now. I have a rough time on a good day. So, okay. All right. You've heard all that shit before. You guys know. You all know. Okay, let me cross off cat. Let's see. All right, cat. Now we're talking about Jon Stewart and AI. No, AI, those are separate topics. Just Joe Biden, our dear leader, the man of the hour. And by hour, I'm talking about 1972, June 16th, 1972, for 1 hour. That was his one decent moment in his entire life. I don't know. I made up that date. No idea what that means. But I'm just saying he's very old. He's so old, British upper class people are going to bring him into their parlor and chew on him for a party. That's a callback. That's a mummy joke callback. Could we be in a worse off situation? I'm watching the liberals. The liberals of our world are Team Biden. They're riding hard for old Joe. They really can't get their heads around the idea that a lot of people are upset that he's one of history's greatest murderers of children, that he's been torturing, slaughtering, sniping, bombing killing children with starving, thirst. There's no verb for killing with thirst, is there? We have starvations for food. I heard the cat move. She's so easy to please, man. Somebody adopt this cat. Los Angeles. You'll get to see me cry. I will guarantee you I will cry when I drop her off. I will not. I will. There's no way I won't be. I cry if I even just start imagining it too much. But anyway, back to the genocide. The liberals are all in on Joe. They can't seem to get their heads around that this old mummy, 81 years old, Biden 77, that we have two ancient cretins, both the absolute worst persons in the world of their political representation. Biden is as if Trump is like America itself, like a meteor of blue light fell. This is like an 80s movie and like zapped like a puddle of ooze, and the ooze became and an American flag and an American textbook, which of course is filled with misinformation and mythology lies and stuff like that. And it just woke up and slowly emerged and started like staggering towards a subdivision somewhere, wound up in a grocery store, wound up murdering a guy in a hardware store. And then like it leaves the hardware store wearing a cowboy shirt and a cowboy hat. Also cowboy shirt on as legs because it doesn't know what pants are. And they weren't selling pants at the hardware store because it's hard to try on pants at a hardware store. But you can try on a shirt at a hardware store. See, it's making sense, isn't it? It's making more sense than you. Come on, go ahead and admit it. And that's Trump, this freak accretion of all of America's most horrible impulses. And that's why he resonates so strongly with so many people in this country for whom his kind of he is unconstrained, although they of course like to weave this narrative that they are the victims, they are the ones that are being constrained, but he is unconstrained in the ways that they feel, that he gets to say what he wants. He gets to have all the money. He gets to have the hot wife. He gets to have the hot daughter. That's another part of the fucking thing that's fucking gross and weird. He's talked many times about how he would have sex with his own daughter. I doubt he would have sex with his sons because they're not hot enough. Neither one of them. Even after they murdered leopards and stuff. He's living the fantasy. He gets to bang porn stars. He gets to piss off the liberals, the ones that they think are all lefties, the whole confusion about what the differences are between lefty, liberal, leftists, all these terms, none of which can really necessarily be easily cordoned off. There's gradients, I would argue, if I were getting into that topic. But and Biden is basically that, but on the left, you know. And that's why they're all in on capitalism. They're all in on genocide. They're all in on American imperialism and projecting power and strength and murdering people. And what's going on in Israel is just unbelievable nightmare. I can't, I didn't even really want to talk about it, but it's so upsetting every time I get on the timeline on Twitter and see some of this stuff and see these things. And I'm not even going to describe them. It's so fucking horrifying what's happening. It's only going to get worse. And there's just one quick one. Sorry, it's a little triggering if you're upset about dead children, but this is what America is doing with its partner Israel. A doctor reported children being brought in with gunshot wounds to their heads from sniper fire, from being sniped at, shooting kids. Multiple children brought in dead from snipers. And then you got the Israeli army guys posting videos of themselves cooking in Palestinians' homes while they're starving these people. It's so fucking rotten, man. It's so gross, and it's going to have ramifications for centuries, decades, and how there's not going to be some kind of blowback anyway in terms of taking a risk or imposing. I mean, I can guarantee we all would be. How do you not become? I don't even want to call it a terrorist. That's not even the right term for that. But like if your entire family and if you're put through this kind of trauma, this kind of experience, you're orphaned and all this happens and you manage to make it out alive and you're supposed to just somehow let it all go. I mean, we'd all be better off if the victims of the world were able to let things go and if we were able to like turn that off, but that's just not how humans work. It's not the way things are. There's usually a lot of understandable resentment, putting it lightly, that you're fomenting. They're rooting and planting an entire crop of centuries of distrust, and maybe not full centuries, but man, even if we started, the point I guess is, like, if we started trying with earnestness, with good leadership, with like having to actually sacrifice a little bit of the profit that the defense companies are expecting from the coming World War III, it would still take decades of unwinding all this pain. And so all they're doing is wrapping up the knot tighter and tighter and tighter around the world. The rubber band is getting tighter, like the inside of a golf ball. See? Get it? Now I'm thinking about golf. So fucking horrifying nightmare. And the liberals don't seem to understand, or at least they kind of just go, oh, geez, what are you making a big deal about it for? What's all the commotion? Yeah, it's not good. I'd rather they wasn't doing it, maybe. But they're Muslim. They're my friend, my Jewish, or no, I shouldn't say Jewish, my Israeli buddy says that these guys are the bad. Like, so there's all this misinformation. There's this entire machinery of like within our political system, enabled by all the corruption through AIPAC and through the influence that the Israeli lobby has on our government. Like, look at John, I almost called him John Fetterman. That fucking asshole. Progressive, allegedly claimed to be when running, and now he's disowning his progressivism, and he's just all in on this whole thing. And so I don't know. I like, as much as I want to like really go after the liberals for being like this, and I don't mean any old regular Joe. It's just that people only get see what information they see, including me. Right? We're only exposed to the photons we're exposed to, the sound waves, and then it's filtered through all of our complex, consciousnesses. Some are more complex than others, it seems. So I don't necessarily but that's part of the media manipulation. That's part of the misinformation thing. It's like, how are you really okay with this? And this is all, of course, feeding into the whole notion of voting for Biden or not. And should Biden be, and the lefties are having this big conversation, often emotionally charged about voting for Biden or not. And I definitely have my opinions on it. But his age was brought up. His age is being pointed out, and his mental faculties seem to be in question, as clearly as Donald Trump's. I mean, Donald Trump is a complete psycho, an utter freaking maniac. I wouldn't trust either of these guys to operate. I wouldn't trust them to open a microwavable burrito. I wouldn't trust them to do this with a package, let alone operate a microwave. And we're choosing between these two fucking freaks and giving them nukes about which one should be in charge of the nukes. It's the absolute craziest thing. But I push hard on the Democrats. Not that anybody gives a shit what my stupid ignored tweets do. But like, I'm railing against the liberals because I think obviously I have massive ideological differences with the conservatives and the MAGA Republicans and all that, of course. But the thing is, the liberals think that the leftists want Trump to win because we're going after Biden for his age, let alone his murdering children, being complicit in this genocide. But we're trying to prevent Trump from winning. Like, don't you see that you're putting up the absolute best possible candidate with the worst thing you could do in the world is do what Joe Biden is doing with his Israeli buddies. He's ideologically committed to it. And you're going into an election year against this whole Trump thing. I mean, it is so wild with the prosecutions going on. Of course, that moron prosecutor who hired her boyfriend to work on the team. It's just like, of all the cases, like, fine, go do that with some other thing. This is like a century, the first kind of case in the country's history. Hopefully the only one. Although honestly, I think all presidents, we should go dig up their corpses and put them all on trial. Starting with that Jimmy Carter, and you're screwing around with like just exposing that vulnerability to the case. This is Fannie Willis is who I'm talking about. It's just like, what are you doing? What the hell's wrong with you? You couldn't just be careful on this one? Shouldn't you know better? Amazing. but all these other cases. And so Trump is facing being, convicted and there's going to be appeals and stuff. There's no chance he'll ever do any time in prison, in my opinion. If anything, he'll die before any of the appeals are finished. Although he does have good health care and medicated catch up down there at Mar-a-Lago. But, he's just recently had that, judge ruled that he owes 364, I think that might be the number of in fines for his Trump organization scam. And he's not allowed to do business in New York or be an officer of a company. Yet we're going to put him in charge. That's what's just so fucking wild is our system picks these old goons, and like a person like Trump is completely unqualified to do anything in the world except be the leader of the country or of a company. That of all things just shows you how absolutely wretched the entire system is in terms of how we the ways we choose leaders and the type of people that rise to the top. But you got Trump and you got Biden, and you got Biden's age clearly showing. But the thing is, Trump still comes off as having some vitality. Biden has these delicate little walks. He's got these skinny old man legs. He's got 81-year-old guy thing. There's plenty of 81-year-olds who are doing pretty well. I saw this. I don't know if it was an article. Whatever. It was like a yoga thing or something. But this dude, and he said he was one of those old guys who stayed in shape. Not like the muscular, crazy old guys that look like they have like a nice body, but like skinny dude. And he's like, yeah, I fall down a lot. I try to fall down with part of my, and the person talking to him was like, what? He's like, well, for people my age, it's been like decades since they've fallen down. So he does like tumbling as part of his stretching, and like he makes sure that, so like, and it was a really interesting point. Like, well, yeah, I haven't fallen over in a long time. Well, with my wrists the way they are, if I did fall, I would just wreck my hands, or I'd have to take a weird fall because I can't really catch myself with my hands. That's very scary. What the hell am I talking about? Oh, but Biden has this frailty about him. He has this slowness. He has this delayed processing thing going on. And it's horrifying to see because it doesn't inspire confidence. And I'm a defender of ageism on politicians. I think the rules are different for people who have this kind of power, especially the presidency. I think it'd be ageist if I was talking, if I was going after Biden for trying to be the head of the nursing home, student government. Do they do student governments at nursing homes? I don't know. They should. They will when I get there. Okay. Union. I'm going to be trying to unionize the, well, by that point, it'll be like, we'll be wearing like old Apple Vision Pros. Oh man. Remember Katie Couric? So yes, being ageist against these fucking politicians. They have so much influence. They have so much control. They have so much power. And unfortunately, we apply all these like kind of emotional things, especially in America, where we like our leader is our guy, our big Biden. Oh, he's our big boy. He's our big king. He's the cultural standard bearer. He's the one holding society. He's the paladin of democracy. He is with whom, and what liberals and conservatives who are consuming all this mainstream media stuff, myself included, I'm very stuck with online stuff. I watch a lot of YouTube shit. But you're basically just casting who you want to see on the TV for the next 4 years. I think partially what people are up to. So they're protective of their comfort. I hated having Trump in office. I don't want fucking Trump to be in office. And I'm very persuaded that he's going to he's said it himself, being a dictator. And he's got this massive infrastructure of government violence in the form of cops and sheriffs and police and militarized police departments, all ready and willing to get going. I shouldn't say all, but ready and willing to take those commands. I mean, it could get a little bit messy with the different types of military's authorities going on, depending on how hard they clamp down the fascism. But he's all in on it, especially since he's facing this wild 80s movie plot line. Like he's like a supervillain who's got to become president in order to stay out of prison. What an insane scenario. I almost said scenario. What a wild storyline. Completely on the nose for a film. And that's where we are with this thing. This maniac narcissist who has got this whole cult of personality going on behind him, and this kind of otherworldly charisma that seems to flow through the cameras so well. And so he bamboozles everybody who's ever caught up in his spell. And unfortunately, America is the grifter's paradise. So we have a lot of people that are susceptible to all that. I think a version of that's kind of is happening with the Biden kind of cult, with that affiliation, where they feel threatened by people that are criticizing it and pointing it out. And so it all hit the head this week with Jon Stewart coming back. People are calling some talk about him running for president, which is not that I think this is bad on Jon Stewart, but like, man, wouldn't it be nice if we had a world where we weren't just like, which celebrity isn't totally horrible and is a pretty good communicator? I actually think Jon Stewart would be fine. I'm not like gonna throw in on Stewart 2028 right now or something like that. But if he decided to run, I think it'd be fascinating. It'd be really interesting, especially with this way our world kind of feeds off celebrity. We're not going to do these Jimmy Carter boring bozos anymore. It's got to be The Rock, Jon Stewart, CM Punk, Taylor Swift. Did you guys watch the Super Bowl? I was my tweet joke that I was hoping anybody would like was that she's dating a groundskeeper. Like she's dating somebody who's like wears like the yellow thing and like part of like the field crew. Not even like a referee. Like that'd be pretty cool. Date a referee. That's a pretty important job. Even a linesman. No, I mean like a guy who's like make sure that nobody steals the water jug thing down there by the golf cart where they carry off the concussion victims. It'd be fun if that was her boyfriend and she was just supporting his career, I mean, showing up for that. But no, got to be one of those hunky football player men. Come on, Taylor Swift. Quit date a regular schmo. Hold hands down at the hot dog stand by the river when you're done. Go back to his house. Sit in folding chairs and watch a fucking Tommy Lee Jones movie. Like a blue collar regular ass I don't give a shit about any of that. Yeah, so we got this old piece of shit running, and he's going to lose to Trump, and his policies are incredibly unpopular. He's had a few different legislative things that got through that were weakened and watered down, and it's really bad. It's a really terrible thing. I'm very persuaded that we're better off organizing against a Democratic administration than a Republican administration. The apparatus that is in place under Biden is very much part of the capitalist infrastructure, but they put in people who are more persuadable and more. And a commentator I've come to like quite a lot is Olayemi Olurin on YouTube. She got into a big spat with the Young Turks last year and stuff. She did a very persuasive video. Not that I was already kind of on her sort of thinking about it, but she talked about how a lot of people, white people especially, seem to think that this choice is supposed to reflect everything that you want, that you're supposed to get everything or it's nothing to you. And from her perspective, from person of color's perspective, you're just wondering who's going to give you a little bit more. You're always going to be disappointed. It's always going to be less. It's like it's an inversion. But she also made the point in her recent appearance on the Marjorie. Why am I doing that? Majority Report with Sam Cedar, that she's more likely to be able to persuade liberals to pressure Biden than she would be to be able to persuade conservatives to pressure Trump, if that's who our two choices are. And it's a tragedy that those are our two choices. That's my statement. But I thought that thinking made a lot of sense to me. The NLRB is under threat right now from Amazon's, Trader Joe's, and damn it, what's the third one? There's a third one. Tesla. They're challenging the validity, the constitutionality of the NLRB and the National Labor Relations Act, which created the NLRB. I think. Sorry if I'm wrong about that, but they're connected. And who knows where that's going to end up if the Supreme Court, especially, is able to take that down. We're just fundamentally, it's just easier to. It's like the metaphor I've come up with is, for the leftists that are like weighing this whole thing, and for some it's just very clear that you should never vote for. I can't stand the idea of voting for Biden. I don't even know if I'm going to be able to at the moment. I honestly don't. I'm not sure because of the fucking genocide stuff. I'm very persuaded. I've never felt. I guess I felt okay voting for Bernie, and maybe Obama the first time. And this is that vote blue no matter who thing. That's so fucking enraging. I don't have that Lawrence O'Donnell clip ready, but they maintain their grip on the system because they keep leftists out of power. And so if all you consider your activism and your work to be is that who you vote for every 4 years, you're just a liberal with leftist trappings. You're not like you have to do more outside of that. Not to say that I'm doing a ton of that. I've been trying to keep my fucking brain alive but like it doesn't, if that's the extent of it, just who you vote every 4 years. And then that, I think a major part of that too is are you, because this is conditioned, this is like nationalistic conditioning from childhood, is that your vote is a reflection of your morals, and if you vote for somebody, you're endorsing every single thing that person does and stands for and says, and you could make a case for that. If that's the way you perceive and conceptualize what it means to vote, and it's a fairly rational case, Joe Biden is killing all these children, and you show up and you say, okay, we'll check the box for Joe Biden. That's more killing children. Like that is kind of, but I don't think that's the only way to conceptualize it. I see it as like we're in hell. This is horrible. I want to see. I don't want to see Joe Biden in the presidency. I think actually we're headed for some fireworks when he drops out eventually. They're either going to engineer some kind of health scare thing, or there'll be a real health scare thing. But if he waits till the primary season's completely over and then does this whole dropping out at the convention thing, Cenk Uygur's been talking about that a little bit. He's now shifting his presidential campaign. I'm sure he still thinks there's a chance he could win. I don't think he's betting on that, but that he'll have delegates perhaps, which is interesting enough, I suppose. But like that, but it's based on the premise that if they drop out and they release the delegates, if he doesn't just turn them all over to Kamala, then you have like an open you have an open delegate primary where the different delegates get to assign them their vote to, and so it becomes quite a raucous thing. And that's how the Democratic Party used to conduct themselves up until, I don't have the right date. It's either the 60s or the 70s or something. But like for like 100+ years, they did this kind of like convention where the delegates battled it out and eventually wound up coalescing around a nominee. So there's precedent for doing at least that kind of selection, although it's utterly gross and irresponsible of Biden to think that he's the guy that we need. He's older than Israel. He's an ancient fucking, okay. I'm losing my threads here. Oh, so we're in hell. And it's like, do you want to, I see voting as just one of many, many, or a very small part of your responsibility if you're trying to help things. Although I think you actually have a major responsibility to care for yourself too. First, for me, it's like the world's not better off because you're having a worse day. I'm struggling to get my foundation, my footing in terms of income and health, and those are the issues I'm dealing with right now. Honestly, God, I'll feel so much better when I find somebody for this cat. The number of variables in my life will go down substantially. So to me, it's kind of like just barely influencing a big ship, like on the till. What do they call the spinny thing? The steering wheel, the big steering wheel. I know there's a word for that. Is it till? It's like you're just putting a flea's weight on it. That's your vote. And you're essentially, our choices here, though, given the two, we have this global fascist guy who wants to usher in a world of like multipolar dictatorships that are, and not to mention turning the America's militarized police against its own citizens far more. I mean, it's already happening no matter where we go. There's no third option, and then there's no third party option for any of this. We're stuck with this 2-party bullshit. That's just the choices we have available. Unfortunately, we should be advocating and fighting very hard on other than non-presidential seasons for ranked choice voting, for third party, advancement and all that kind of stuff. That's also critical. But I'm not very persuaded by the people that just sit there and go, well, they're both terrible and it's going to be bad and it's just, we need a third party. I agree. But then what? There's so many more people are going to pay a price under a Republican presidency domestically It'll empower the women, the attacks on women's rights. Not that Biden is a great defender. Of course, the Democrats are flubbing it there too. Fucking Joe Biden said some shit about how he's a practicing Catholic and he's not for abortion on demand, but he agreed with Roe. I saw some tweet about that. So he's just right wing framing it all there because Democrats are conservative liberals. They're all Pelosi's a big Reagan defender and all this fucking nonsense. But we're in hell and we're driving in this boat and we're steering through flames. There's oil covering the water. And the Republicans are tall flames and the Democrats are shorter flames. Those are the choices. And it's totally reasonable to say I won't vote for either one of them if you assign your moral character to that. If that's your model for what it means to vote. I look at it as we have a better chance of fighting off a person with a knife than a person with a big chainsaw. It's kind of like you have a better chance of having improvement, especially within the union movement, especially within some of the regulatory agencies, based on the kind of people that Democrats appoint to this apparatus. That's always the administrative state. The executive branch has this enormous influence on how so much of this happens. But then you have to then it feels like you're endorsing genocide. That's why we're fighting. That's why the screaming lefties and why Jon Stewart breaks through. Because he's like a flashlight in a haunted house. He's like having, they have like the service lights there. They could flip the switches and turn it on, and it's all just black curtains and probably gross. I doubt they wash those curtains very much. And then you can see all the little levers and the little cheap ghost things, and they'll turn the black lights off, and it's a haunted. It's just a weird room with a bunch of strange contraptions. And Jon Stewart kind of like illuminates all that, so he breaks through, which has upset the liberals about Biden's age. And it's not because lefties want Trump in. It's because it's so obvious that Biden's going to lose to Trump, or that if anybody is going to lose to Trump, it's this sclerotic old man. And America hates old people. Culturally, we fucking despise our old people. Look how horribly we treat them. The relationship that we have with death and with aging and with elderliness. Now, I think my family is probably a little above average on that. We've always had this weird complex. I definitely got it from my grandma. Both my grandfathers were pieces of shit. I didn't really ever interact with them. And my other grandma died pretty young. Also a piece of shit. She was part of it. But that's, good old American generational violence and trauma flowing through. My family was a somewhat deeper part of the river of pink ooze, considering how rotten both my grandparents were. They were the men, so that meant they got to brutalize their children for some reason. What the fuck? And anyway, so my grandma, basically the one out of four grandparents, she was kind of a force of nature, great lady. But she was always like, look at those old people. Just hated old people. I don't know. It was weird. Even when she was old. I have all these fucked up complexes. I'm not blaming her or anything. It's when I hate old people. I just think about my grandma. But I'm saying, like, we're brutal to old people and we're not inspired. We're not, and yes, in micro cases, of course, they're respected and we love them and we visit them and they're our grandparents and they're our great grandparents and look at them, so cute. Oh, look at that one won a whole bunch of coins at the casino, at the old people daycare. Oh, that one's got. Then we fight over their inheritances and stuff. It's great culture, really wonderful. But we fucking hate old people here because they don't make money for the capitalists. They want you to die. They don't want you to stay alive. You know how expensive it is to keep an old person alive? Now you can squeeze a lot of money out of the Medicare systems, out of the socialist programs, air quoting that because it's not exactly, that's not what but those would be considered along that vector of caring for people. And that's just a huge scam. So we allow them to exist to the point where they're able to funnel money through these medical companies and insurance kind of scams that are all surrounding it. And God damn it, the people who work in those facilities. I had to look into old folks' home for a while when my mother was having issues. We toured a bunch, and they're horrifying. We even put her in one because we didn't have very many options. We got very lucky. We found a place that finally had a single room for her, but she had to share rooms, and it just was stinky. And you could just tell, you could just feel the unmet anguish of all these old people not being. It just felt so rotten and disrespectful. And you're looking for a place to put your mother, and it's just such a fucking rotten world because they don't make money. They're not out there producing money for the capitalists. We can drain their savings. We can use their existence to squeeze money out of the government through those Medicare programs and Medicaid. But our culture is pretty shitty to old people. And I'm defending the part where we're like, I don't want my leader walking around like an old guy. If I'm 81 years old, I have this occasional, I think I have issues with my body. But I for years, I've had this thing where it's probably just a lack of exercise, but where I feel my hip kind of get weak. I'll go like, oh, what the fuck? And I'll like kind of walk it off a little bit. And if someone said, well, that, and again, this is ableist for sure. I'm not, but like, I would kind of get it. Like, it's like, oh, that he's having a hard time walking. He shouldn't be in charge. I'd be like, no, that sucks. I'm 40 something. I'm actually pretty good brain wise still, I think. I've only had long COVID for 6 years. Don't worry about it. I'm not, it does sound like I'm defending that and stuff, but I'm saying like people look at Biden and you can tell he is sunsetting, especially at that age. There's a lot of situations where like a slight limp wouldn't necessarily be that bad. If, we assess at least someone's young enough that their head is still in operating conditions. And we're pretty generous with that all the way up until like 78, 74, maybe. Biden does not inspire much confidence in that. And that alone is enough to like, go through that limbic system, that like emotional reactive system that people have that underpins the way their biases and their feelings flow and the way they judge and operate. Probably with less self-awareness than me. Now I feel like a piece of shit for saying a guy with a limp might not, but I'm just saying that's what people look at. That's how people react. That's how people see. Even for the Americans who even know there's an election coming up right now. Like the literacy rates here, I'm not going to say any numbers, but I know it's ungodly high. So anyway, what am I getting at here? I've already talked for fucking hour. I was going to play Whoopi Goldberg on The View and Jon Stewart. Here is Ezra Klein, though. It's starting to... Jon Stewart kind of cracked it open with his haunted house flashlight. Even Ezra Klein, who is just a straight-up Democratic, machine guy. I remember going to Netroots Nation in like 2006 or 7 in Chicago. And Ezra Klein was there. I met Adam Green, and I think TYT was there. Way back when, goes back. I've been paying attention to this stuff for quite a while. So here's Ezra Klein saying, if you've been watching on YouTube, you've probably read it already out of boredom. Oh, I didn't get the shrimp squat up on there. It's okay. It's probably gross and dirty anyway. He says, I have this nightmare that Trump wins in 2024, and then in 2025 and 26, we outcome the campaign tell-all books, and they're full of emails and WhatsApp messages between Biden staffers and Democratic leaders where they're all saying to each other, this is a disaster. He's not going to win this. I can't bear to watch this speech. We're going to lose. But they didn't say any of it publicly. They didn't do anything because it was too dangerous for their careers or too uncomfortable given their loyalty to Biden. Yeah. I think that's a key factor is that somehow the tipping point isn't going to come from people like me or even people like me who have large followings on Twitter and online and other online spaces, but it's going to come from people like Ezra Klein and the kind of slow, that's where the snowballs can maybe start to build up enough momentum where we pull back on putting this guy in. Like, do you see the movie Real Steel with Hugh Jackman? For some reason I was picturing the guy from Evil Dead. Hugh Jackman, and where he has the boxing robots, and it's a heartwarming tale of a man and a boy uniting behind the violence of machinery. This is like having Joe Biden instead of a robot. Okay, come on, son, get in there. And then the robot moves, and then Joe Biden snaps an ankle because he just took a step the wrong way, and now we're in trouble. Now it's bad. And then the robot pummels him for 14 seconds, which in robot time is like 6 minutes, and it's all over. And that's a short movie, and Hugh Jackman would get a smaller payday because that would be a short film. Why are we doing that, liberals? Listen to your leader, Ezra Klein. Because this is a huge factor. I can't highlight it. It's a screenshot. It's not a text here. But they didn't say any of it publicly. And because this is in their careers, this whole loyalty thing, the way these power systems work, this is not just unique to the Democrats, obviously, but I think all kind of power structures where it's like, oh, you can't speak up. Don't say anything. Don't step out of line. If you do, you'll be tagged. You'll be spraying a little yellow paint on your face that says, I'm someone who independently thinks, and therefore I'm a bad fit for this organization. You're supposed to know your role. You put in all those years. You start out at the bottom, maybe, or maybe you work your way through all your family connections into your college and into your university, the fancy lad finishing schools and all that kind of thing. Working your way up, going on the right vacations, keeping your mouth quiet when your buddy got pulled over and they had to bribe some police. Keeping your mouth quiet when you guys went down to the that other Epstein island, the Epsteins we don't know about. You guys are all in on it. What are you going to do? Show that you're willing to speak up against it? Dude, we're going to be on board. We're going to be on the board of Walmart. What the hell's wrong with you? Hillary Clinton was on the fucking board of Walmart in like the late 80s or early 90s or something. That's so weird. Dude, don't you understand the risks? Bitch, you can be like David Axelrod someday. You can have a podcast. No, but actually what that guy does, I don't know the whole David Axelrod thing, but the major thing that the Democrats or that the political consultants get is they get a chunk of the TV spending, of the ad buys. Their fee is like a massive, like a 20% fee of the ad buy. So they place all these ads. So like there's all this incentives for this money to flow into local news and other types of news and your radio and other media. All this corrupt money that flows through the campaign systems feeds the media and the consultants within these businesses, like the James Carvilles of the world. That guy is just filled with campaign money from over all the different years where he's been some kind of special expert on the election. That fucking weird guy. So I was going to look for Ezra Klein bringing Nancy Pelosi roses just for fun, because if you recall, to prove how much of a Democratic insight, he did this thing where he filled her office with roses. And and Twitter's not showing anything. That's the latest. That's just Ezra Klein roses. Let's see in the top. And then I went to Google. There's not matches for Ezra Klein roses? Ezra Klein roses. Just a bunch of shit of him on Charlie Rose? What the fuck? It's weird. I searched for this fairly. The smart way to grow roses on the New York Times. I mean, it's just like these algorithms, man. I don't know what's going on with this. Why would that be scrubbed? I don't like being one of those guys that's like, this is all shit. But that's exactly why they have these algorithms, is so that they can manipulate the information that we're able to see. I'm for banning algorithms or heavily regulate. I think algorithms are more dangerous than AI, honestly. But this AI stuff has been cropping up a bunch of some videos out of AI generated videos. It's going to be incredibly disruptive. Dangerous. So let's do 100 or 200 years of insane wars and misinformation, and just let the algorithms and the AI and the deep fakes just feed on a society, causing all kinds of disruption, contributing to that, because anger is more profitable. All these social media companies depend on you getting upset and outraged so that you'll spend more time on their app. All this human attention harvesting that is so bizarre, and all in service of saving money for the wealthiest people already, the commanders, the C-suite types who run these things. And they're going to be able to control what you see, because it's all about behavior. It's not just about selling you products and placing the right product in front of the person who's likely to buy the product. They know you're pregnant before you do based on your searches. And that's like old stuff, old reporting on the way these algorithms are manipulating people. It's so dangerous. It's so dangerous. And especially the effect where it makes it so that legitimate stuff is now up for debate, up for question. Even real things are going to be like, well, we'll talk about that's an algorithm. That's AI. I think Trump did that with a picture of his fat gut golfing. I think he said that's AI or something. I don't know if it was it. Maybe it was. Maybe it isn't. Maybe I don't know. It's all so horrible. And my only I think we should ban all AI, all deep fake stuff, and I think we should ruthlessly pursue it and get it out of fucking society. It is so dangerous stuff. It is so bad. I don't think there's any, putting those horses back in the toothpaste tube, but we should at least, and unfortunately because of our system, our gerontocracy run by all these old fucks, we're not going to. We're not going to respond to it with any kind of swiftness, even if we were like on the ball. It's just the nature of like judicial cases then feed the activist movements and the various kinds of that ends up leading towards legislative activism, which ends up leading towards legislators actually taking up causes and then maybe doing something about it. Unless they're bailing out rich people for, they can do that in an hour or two, or if they're funding, wars and sending bombs to blow up people. They're pretty swift on that kind of activity, but generally the legislative reaction to societal trends is pretty slow, even on a good day. We're way off on that. And this stuff is moving so fast and it's going to be so dangerous. I saw a video, Instagram reel of a lady talking about Spotify updated their terms and conditions, saying that this is for the audiobooks. I guess Spotify does audiobooks. And she was coming from like an author perspective of like, hey, they just updated their terms and conditions, and it says that they can take everything that you give them, all the ideas, everything that you submit, and keep it forever, profit off of it, change it, convert it into derivative works. Like it was all that legally. And then and basically just like they get to make any sequel. They were claiming complete control over your IP, including anything that they would derive from it, which means that they're going to be feeding it into AI systems. And then I saw a comment that said just something about a clawback, or that they're trying to like pull back on that. So I don't know the full story on that one. So take that with a big grain of salt. But so it's so dangerous. And so the two things that are actually possible, well, one is more of a hope and one is a prediction, is that I'm hoping that we can at least have like very clear disclosure laws. Like it should be one of those things where it's like, this has to be disclosed. This is like cancer in cigarettes. This is like carcinogens in cigarettes. Like this is an AI produced thing. This is, especially when it comes to media, because it's going to be really easy for them to just make any video they want of pick your politician. All right. Walter Mondale saying anything you want. Walter Mondale with a Puerto Rican accent. See? Aren't you already confused? Dan Quayle misspelling celery, not potato. See? Mayhem. No, but like the misinformation is going to get so fucking ramped up. How easy will it be for them to just produce video after video of Ilhan Omar saying crazy stuff, or whoever, on all sides? It's so dangerous stuff, and we're already reeling from the intellectual and the emotional and the spiritual, and mostly that everybody's too busy and tired to engage this world and the education system. And so we have like generation after generation of degraded mental faculty going on here, the mental infrastructure. So it's just going to cause mayhem, man. It's so bad. So at least we should have disclosure, strict disclosure kind of rules and stuff like that. If not, I want outright like banning. I know that's probably naive to think. But the other thing is, I hope this is the prediction, is that this sort of sets off a movement to analog, like to get rid of these fucking phones, these freaking demonic devices that we're also stuck with. I go back to my bathroom without my phone and I have to turn around, no matter how much it's crowning. and I have to go get my phone. Can't go pooping without that. And I'm old enough to remember pooping without phones. I used to have to bring a rotary device in there and just go. That's how I used to shit in the early 90s. Reading a magazine. If you were lucky, oftentimes you just had the soap bottles, maybe, if you could reach something, so you had something to look at. Sometimes you just slap your knees for fun. We don't do that. We got to have our phones. Oh, analog. Yeah, so like I think we're already seeing it too a little bit with the return to sort of physical media, like owning DVDs and getting back to like that kind of thing. I think overall we're going to start seeing trends towards almost like another a wave of Amish thinking. And forgive me if I'm really, because I have that dumbass person's idea of what Amish is that they decided to forego technological progress in exchange for a certain kind of lifestyle. Seems to be a decent thought. So I could see being pulled into that. I would be so much happier if I just got to hang out with a bunch of, hippie ladies and fix their fences and stuff and have fucked up juice and shit, take care of cats that have no eyes and stuff, Wouldn't that be better than all this shit? So, okay. I was going to play a bunch. Maybe we'll just get into Jon Stewart a little bit. I think this gets copied. Oh my God, it's 20 minutes. What the fuck? We'll jump into it. I was going to do the whole thing and talk through it. I've already kind of said everything, all of my thoughts, about the Biden and this and all the bullshit and all that. Let me just think. Yeah, as far as like the whole voting, should you vote for Biden or not? I wouldn't. I find those that are trying to shame other people for how they conceptualize their voting, or if they say they're going to vote for Biden, or if they say they're not going to like apply a big emotional judgment on that person, to me is unproductive, to say the least. It's an indication that you're not really thinking about this in a nuanced way. Do it to yourself, fine, if you apply that, but like I'd rather go through the short fire than the tall fire, and unfortunately that's the best we got. My ideal scenario in this case is Biden gets arrested for war crimes the moment he says I do. The moment he takes on that inauguration oath or whatever the fuck, is immediately arrested and hauled off to humane prison and is tried for war crimes. Because we need the democratic apparatus. It's not the right term, but we have a much better time organizing from the left, the most powerful group take away that, strike that from the record, the least powerful, so frequently maligned, so misunderstood on purpose, the least powerful group. It's fucking AOC is just like, not that she's like John Fetterman kind right now, but she's certainly, letting a lot of people down with her kind of, Biden's, I saw her on some talk show or podcast, these two ladies that looked like sequel villains from James and the Giant Peach or Cider House Rules or something. Is that even, does that make sense? And it's like their thing was like, hit it or something, hit it or don't hit it, or hit it or quit it maybe. And it was like, Biden. She's like, hit it.
Had it or hit it, Joe Biden.
Hit it. Honestly, here's the thing. I think sometimes people want electoral politics to be, we overly identify with, it's like, if you vote for someone, they have to be the embodiment of you.
She like played along with it. Like, what are you talking about? You can at least like make a case like, well, he's better than Republicans. That's the only thing that really matters. It sucks that we have to deal with it. But she was like, yeah, he's old, and they're like, he's our grandpa. I wish I had that clip.
Identity affirming things to come from electoral politics. You get demagogues,
Right.
people who want to like symbolize these psychological things. Joe Biden doesn't do that, and I think that's actually a good thing.
Yeah. Right.
Because like, it's more honest, I think, about where we are, whether we like it or not.
He's our grandpa
Mhm.
that saved us
Exactly.
from our alcoholic stepfather that abused us for 4 years.
I just sound like a freaking crazy guy. So here, let's just hit play. Yeah, he does that too. I've seen him in press conferences before where he'll like do that thing where he stops right where he's about to leave and turn around. If it's a deliberate move or something, I'm sure it's one of those things like, I'll show him. I'm the powerful guy. I gotta prove that I have not weakness. And so this is a thing. I don't necessarily judge that, but as Jon Stewart, future president Jon Stewart, is saying, you had basically done your job more or less. What are you doing going back? And this is when he makes the mistake about referring to the president of Egypt as by the wrong name. Boy, those audiences really just let it loose, don't they? Here's Kamala. This went around on Twitter a bunch for, I don't actually know the context, but she kind of exhibits the thing that people find so unnerving about her. I'll say no more. Just click play. It's only 12 seconds.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist in the context of all in which you live and what came before you. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
It's the laughter followed immediately by the strange seriousness and then saying complete babble about the context in which you live. She does it a lot with it. The time of the now is when, the present is forever, today, tomorrow. That kind of like, it's completely indicative of like a terrible politician, first of all, but a disdain for the audience's intelligence. Here's more of Stewart, though. I killed the tortoise. I didn't actually kill it. I built a container for tortoises. I helped a neighbor, and then 2 weeks after they put it in, one of the tortoises died. Ah, fucking ads. God damn it. Buy stuff. Consume. Okay, everybody? Don't ever stop. Don't ever stop. You have to. Do your duty. Not enough of the earth has been converted into currency. The time of the liberals didn't like that line, and they got really upset. We're gonna watch some of The View here. I haven't seen it yet, but yeah, the whole they were calling out Stewart for his disloyalty, basically, for going after Biden for his age, as if and they like to do this thing where they say, "Oh, but Trump is." It's like, yeah, neither of them, and we don't want Trump to win because of Biden's age. It's very simple. So he goes on and says you got to do shit every day. You know, kind of gives that kind of thing here. Yeah, let's just see what this View stuff is. I just saw vaguely people said The View got into a thing about it all. I know Joy Behar is like on team establishment liberals. I think I saw a thing for her. Someone like brought up the genocide, right? The American involved murder of tens of thousands of people, 15,000 children. And she kind of waved it off as like, oh, people will forget about it by November, like as if like, oh, who cares? It's not going to be an issue later on. It's like, and honestly, like there's probably a little truth to. You're not wrong for thinking Americans have a short memory, for sure. Considering, my God, not just the lead poisoning, the microplastic poisoning, the terrible education system, the overstressed childhoods, the overworked adulthoods. But now you got long COVID adding a whole bunch of cognitive decline to it. Like, could there, like, I have this, I don't know if I'd call this a conspiracy, but it sure seems awfully, not that it was generated originally, but the mechanism, the reasoning to not solve COVID once it became clear that this thing is just going to churn through populations for decades, all the while disabling people at a fairly heavy clip. It's killing like way more people than the AIDS crisis was at the time. And the CDC is now going to like suspend their 5-day isolation thing or whatever, making it much more likely that it'll get spread even more than it already is. Like, it's fucking wild. The long COVID is a worker issue. It's a labor issue. So many people on the front line, the essential workers, quote unquote, during the heavy part of the first year of the pandemic, that we called them essential, but they're the ones that paid the biggest price, and those happen to be generally workers of people of color. But long COVID, man, is going to cause tremendous disruptions and stuff. That might be why my beard's going. I don't know. I mean, I've been in a pretty stressed out place mentally and physically for 40 years, but like, especially the last several decades. Is there I almost said Pikachu. Is there a baby Yoda behind her? It looks like there is. Geez, I wonder how much they pay for that advertising, because they don't put, that's not, is that can't, okay. There's no way they would do that without getting their cut of the profits off of that. And he is very cute. Yeah. So long COVID is a mass disabling thing, and it could not be more convenient for those that don't want the much deserved revolution to come. If they can just keep a hold, it's just all contributing to my overall thesis of this whole not my political project, my whole operating ethos in terms of conceptualizing capitalism around worker power and worker labor. It's all about leverage. So the more distressed out you are, the less leverage you have, because you're distracted trying to deal with your stresses. And that's just very convenient for the bosses to keep the things the way they are and to make money off of the economy is literally just taking stress and transmogrifying it into currency. It does this thing where people have to, so it maintains low leverage in the worker or high leverage in the bosses. And that's what they use to compel labor, by withholding basic needs from people and then selling it to them. The things that we used to get from community, such as the feeling of support, the feeling of backup, care, someone there to be with you, the reason, all that stuff contributes to increasing your own leverage. So they've walled off, they've enclosed, if you will, the ancient luxury of community, and they're selling it back to you at high profits, and then not actually allowing you to access it, because I'm talking about basic needs especially. But the benefits of community are now just commodities that the wealthy can afford. Pay somebody to take care of your kids, pay somebody to teach your kids, pay somebody to come in and live in your house and clean your shit up and do all the work around your house. All those things are transactional. Not to say it's as simple as like, well, the other alternative is that we just do all that for each other, but that's what community means. Community means that we have this sense that we have responsibility to each other as well as to ourselves. But because of our responsibility to each other, everybody's life is easier. And those who do shitty work don't have bad jobs. That's the kind of conception for me. If I sometimes, I'm a crazed maniac narcissist guy. So I'll think, I don't actually think I'm not a narcissist, but I sometimes imagine that I'm on Joe Rogan's show. And if you have a podcast and you say you've never thought that, well, you might. I'll take it in good faith. I won't call you a liar, but I try to think, not just Joe Rogan precisely. I did meet him once though, but like to explain socialism, for instance. And my whole point, the way I think I would summarize it is, you've heard me say this already if you're a listener, but is shitty work, yes. Bad jobs, no. There's going to be shitty work. There's going to be crappy work. Work that that takes risk, work that is tough, smelly, gross, tiring, shitty work. But we have bad jobs. Shitty work we can't get rid of. Cleaning toilets. But we can get rid of bad jobs. We can get rid of bad jobs. And that means that you don't let the bosses have as much leverage as they currently have. It's not that complicated. So yes to shitty work, no to bad jobs. And so that's what we want to talk people into. I would probably be, I was doing this fucking I like the woodworking stuff, but I hated having to be there by 7 a.m., no benefits, and just to get all for the cost of I'm crippled for the rest of my life. Like if I had stolen $20,000 and got caught by the law, and the punishment was we're going to cripple your hands, you would say that's barbaric. But I had fears of the insurance. I didn't have any health insurance. I didn't think to it, but like, because I couldn't access healthcare for a variety of reasons, I just worked through it and I wrecked my wrists. And the punishment for those decisions is that I'm crippled. My hands are, and again, these might be solvable issues if I can ever finally get some healthcare. And I think I actually do. I think I'm poor enough to have Medi-Cal. It's a bad situation. Sorry. So I missed out. So this is actually Whoopi Goldberg on The View from a year ago. I just saw this Googling or, finding these videos for this today. And Biden age of concern for Democrats. This is only 3 minutes and 43 seconds. And then we'll jump over to this one, which is 4 days ago, where they're reacting to Jon Stewart upsetting the liberals by turning the lights on in the haunted house a little bit. So first, let's see what they had to say a year ago. I just thought this might be interesting. I have no idea what they're going to get at. We got some watch time stuff, so the good bits will be later on.
Who is gearing up for a rerun, as you heard us say earlier, and former VP Mike Pence just dodged questions about whether he's thinking of running for president in 2024. Now, the other side says there are fears that that Biden's age will be a liability. No disrespect for the older people in the, in the country who are actually doing their thing and have been doing their thing really beautifully, but that's okay. They say he's turning 80. Thank God he's made it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. Do you think this is going to be an issue, or are people really going to be a little bit more invested in what we're getting done?
So I think, sorry to jump in, but I think anyone looking at their retirement account yesterday, looking at fuel prices, looking at inflation, not all of which, by the way, are Biden's fault, that creates a path and a window for a Donald Trump to come back. And in a kind of asking the question of who is best fit to beat Donald Trump, because that man should never be president again, I'm not sure I think it's Joe Biden. And the fact that David Axelrod, senior Obama and Biden advisor, came out and said, he's going to be 82. It's not about age. I don't think he has the same strength and sharpness I saw 5 years ago with Biden. And I have tremendous respect for the man. So I'm curious, who are the Dems going to run? Where's the, Obama energy that we could bring?
I don't know if we need Obama energy. We need somebody who can get the country back in line. Yeah. Because if you can name me a Republican who has a shot to do that, that's what I'm more interested in, because
I think it'll be
DeSantis. I hope it's not DeSantis over in Florida, because I think he's a fascist. DeSantis. I think he handled COVID miserably. I think he's a fascist and a bigot.
Was she saying or DeSantis? I'm not really tracking all this, but speaking of Obama's energy, by the way, just jumping in real fast. Let me see if it looks on the screen. Yeah, okay. Oh, good, a toenail fungus ad. Those are always the good ones. That's not at all. Biden drinks the water in Ohio. So he went and visited East Palestine, Ohio, where the don't know the company name. It's not the tip, but one of the railroad companies, private for-profit railroads, to me, are insane. Railroads are such a critical kind of infrastructure. It's such an important and effective and efficient and smart way of building society. We have to move crap around. So long steel rails with things that can slide back and forth on them makes a ton of sense. And that's also why the car industry's destroyed the trolleys and the railroads in the western cities, and why we build these suburbs out. So we all have to have fucking garages and cars and parking and all this nightmare of car supremacy. And Elon Musk with his fucking Hyperloop, where he even admitted that it was all just a ruse to prevent people from cities from expanding into high-speed rail. America should be building out massive high-speed rail networks. Look up the maglev technologies in Japan. There's some pretty cool videos about how it works. And it's like this thing. These things go 400 miles an hour. I don't know if it's that high, but they're immense. They're huge, and they're it's complex and it's important. I mean, it's risky stuff. It's got to be done really well at those speeds. A crash would be devastating, but they're really getting good at it. And the wheels come off. They end up just almost literally floating. I think literally, once they get up to speed, they actually kind of elevate a little, and then they coast through this it's like a U-shape channel that is changing the magnetic. They're reversing the polarity, to use a Star Trek, and it's awesome, and it works so well. Anyway, we're so behind, but we still have a lot of rail, of course, and they're privately owned. And the rail workers strike that Biden, got involved with, and from what I understand, I don't actually have all the details properly in my head, but came down on the side of the companies because they're making profits, because they're charging extra just for shipping stuff. What the fuck? We should pay for it. If we're going to have a society on money, we need to pay for it. And people who are in charge and run it, maybe they make more than the people who do it, but we could have worker run, collectively owned, nationalize industry rail systems and stop with this stuff where like these guys take these risks because they lobby against safety regulations and then they end up nuking an entire city, a town, poisoning people, shipping very dangerous chemicals, and then just lighting it on fire to get rid of it. And it's poisoning the water, and it's just so irresponsible. But it makes a lot of money because it's a critical infrastructure. And Biden neglected to go, and he did actually a status coup on YouTube with Jordan Chariton, does some pretty good coverage, has done a lot of good coverage on this topic. So Biden goes and he drinks some water, just like Obama did in Flint, Michigan. And in a performative, in one of the gross moments of his career with the poisonings, the water, toxic water that was there. It's like, these guys are such rotten scumbags. So here's some Obama energy. Let's just see this video here. This is USA Today. Michael Collins headline: Biden drinks the water in Ohio and praises Herculean cleanup after train derailment. Oh, music. Turning it off. Click that'll full screen. Nope, not what I want. Okay, so let's watch him sit down. We'll just keep it small here. Look at him. Barely. You look at that. Look how tender he is. Look at those achy bones. You're making the British people hungry. Big. Oh, they cut it off before we got to the sip. It's so weird. It's a stupid society. All right, back to the view. By the way, this is still a year ago, just so you know. This is kind of boring, by the way, but let's.
But
those are his good points.
Those are his good points. Exactly. Bing,
Don't
bing.
hold back, Senator.
Bing, bing. And I hate this talk about. I think people saying that he's too old. I mean, if the former, twice impeached, disgraced president thinks he's such a young spring chicken. I mean, he's going to be 78 when Joe Biden is 81. And so I don't like this ageism argument. But I will say,
true.
yeah.
Biden, when he was here, I asked him, he works out every day.
Yeah.
I don't think Trump does. Take a look.
Yeah, I mean, take a look. Exactly.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. But I do
give him the nukes. His personal trainer makes him do some feng shui in his old man sock suspenders.
There are plenty of Democrats that have tons of verve and energy.
I meant to say the park stretching. Feng shui is the furniture placement, right, for good flow in your room. What am I thinking of?
I like Gavin Newsom because he's really pretty to look at, and I think he does a great job in California.
There you go.
I like
That's
Kamala and Pete Buttigieg.
I love Pete
ticket.
Buttigieg.
I think that looks great.
This is what people watch on TV during the daytime.
Really?
Well, I would vote for them.
Of course
I hope
you
this
would.
country is ready for something like that. I think the brain power alone would just obliterate Trump.
I mean, I would take Buttigieg right now over Biden if that was put up on offer. I think Buttigieg is a horrible, rotten, scary. He's like that guy's his raw ambition alone is the nightmare scenario. The guy's dangerous. So let's jump ahead to a year later now. I didn't get a date on this one here. This is 1 year ago, June 14, 2022. Whoa, that's even more. That's yeah, so that's a year and a half basically, because we're already in 2024. So year and a half later, Stewart roasts Biden, Trump in Daily Show return, The View. Here's Whoopi.
Jon Stewart is apparently back in the anchor chair of The Daily Show last night to put his spin on the state of the presidential race. Take a look.
What the are we doing here, people? These two candidates, they are both similarly challenged, and it is not.
So I'm going to skip ahead because you've seen this. So let's just get to the ladies reacting.
People heard that.
Happy to see him.
He's set!
So a lot of people are happy to see him back. What do you think about his take on everything?
I'm so excited he's back. I never stay up that late, and I did to watch him come back. He's still got it. I love that he takes shots at both sides. And listen, he's underscoring an issue that we've talked about at this table a lot. A lot of us are never going to agree on this, but I feel like he makes this point in it, which I've tried to make before, which is democracy is on the line in this election. Donald Trump is the most dangerous president of all of our lifetimes. And Democrats have made that their crowning campaign message. So that means that Joe Biden should be open to the most scrutiny because it is such, the stakes are so high in this race. So I think it's a legitimate issue. Hillary Clinton came out this week and said Biden's age is a legitimate issue. Nobody is arguing his accomplishments. He has delivered. He has a legislative record. But it comes down to, is he the strongest person to beat Trump? And I'm not convinced he is.
At the risk of being repetitious about this topic, because it doesn't stop, you have, on the one hand, you've got a guy...
Destroy Bay Heart. The first one, I don't know this lady. This is Alyssa Farah Griffin. And so let's see what Joy Behar. Joy Behar is kind of your quintessential, you know, things are pretty good for her, obviously. I bet she's pulling in she's got to be making like 25 an hour easily for this job. Maybe like 28, something pretty big. I bet her co-pays are fairly manageable too. So she's invested in keeping things as they are.
Repetitious about this topic because it doesn't stop.
She looks very irritated by the idea that they're judging Biden for his age.
You have, on the one hand, you've got a guy, Biden, how old is he, 81?
81.
And so he stammers. He's had a stammer all his life. I think that's part of the reason he sometimes looks a little doddering. He's trying to get the words out. The guy has accomplished a lot. I don't want to repeat all the things he's done for Americans already. On the other hand, you basically have a 77-year-old criminal who only cares about getting out of jail, okay? And I wasn't here yesterday because all weekend I was ruminating about what he said about getting us out of NATO. I don't think that people understand what that means. You know, I saw this video of all these young MAGA guys celebrating Trump and well, you know what? You guys will be draft age. You want to start up with the Russians going into Ukraine and then to Crimea and then to Poland. What's next? France, Germany, Italy? You think Americans are not going to be involved in that kind of a war? That's what you're looking at with this guy. You know, I mean, I hate to bring up Hitler, but before
bring him out. Get over here. She's got it back there.
Hitler became powerful. He stuck his little toe in. And the Brits and the Americans, everybody appeased him and said, he's not going to get worse. And then they gave over
Nobody's
the
arguing.
Sudetenland.
That's the thing. It's like, she goes, what is Biden to 81? Well, Trump is basically like Hitler. He's not going to, like, nobody's saying Trump is probably not going to get worse. So I think the potentials for the chaos of the Trump presidency are quite high and very scary. But look at what Biden's doing. What the fuck is Biden up to right now? That's the point, is that Biden is more likely to lose to the guy that you're scared of. Like the fact that that's just the thing the liberals always fall back on, is that they don't want to cast Trump on their TV because it's upsetting to them to have this monster, this rapist, this lying scumbag on their thing. And they're also against Trump. See, pulled one of those. No, but their whole thing is, look how bad Trump is, look how bad Trump is. And that's the argument against Biden running against Trump. His polling has not shown any positive signs that he's going to do better against him. There have been electoral victories against where we think like, oh, the trans issue, I'm saying like where the Republicans are making it a huge issue, and then voters show up because Republicans run on it, and then it's not that people just want people to be left the fuck alone. It's not an electoral issue, is what I mean by just calling it an issue. I think it's horrifying what our culture is allowing to happen to our trans friends. It's just fucking gross. But and we're seeing all kinds of like sort of mini progressive victories in a sense, where like, you know, people locally voted for wage increase, or, you know, for increasing the minimum wage, or legalizing marijuana and other stuff and whatever, like all like that. So like that's what we're squandering by keeping this dinosaur Biden in place instead of somebody younger like Klobuchar, right? Put in Klobuchar.
To him. And then the next thing you know, he's invading Poland, and then he's occupying France.
She would throw combs at Poland.
And then he gets Mussolini on his side. This is what Putin is going to do. It's very, very urgent that we not elect this man. It's not just about us. It's not about just the economy. It's about the world's geopolitical issue.
Well, that's precisely my point.
And,
the stakes
these
are
boys
so high.
who are 13, 14, 15, they will be the ones to go. They will have the draft back again. I lived during the Vietnam War. My husband now had to join the National Guard to get out of it because, and those poor boys came back with Agent Orange, all sorts of...
My dad fought in Vietnam.
Horrible. Pardon me, what?
He fought in Vietnam, my dad.
My uncle did well and came back with Agent Orange and has been sick ever since.
And people don't know what it's like when you send boys to fight.
I think,
Okay,
Joy, you make
end of speech.
You make
That's all that is just a good argument against Biden. That's just so weird about it. Like, she's upset that we're criticizing Biden. You hear me, Joy? Like and subscribe.
No, but you make a great point. And part of the point is that you
This
have
one's name is Sunny Hostin, at Sunny.
history, that you have
age, say it.
Age and wisdom. No, age and wisdom.
I'm old.
Wisdom. No, age and wisdom. I often say
Wisdom and age are not correlated. Excuse me. Nope. 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 They can be. Only if there's curiosity. Curiosity is the factor that leads to wisdom, not age. Sorry. Some old people can acquire wisdom, but only the ones that are curious. I've met a lot of fucking old people, okay? Trust me. Especially once the melting starts happening though. Once that frosting gets that like a layer of like water on it, you know how frosting turns gross? Once that starts happening inside the brain, once the sweats internally start happening, starts slipping. You might catch them dancing. Maybe they remember how to do the Foursquare that they learned back in 1932 or some shit like that. But not in this country, especially. I'd like to live in a culture where we venerated our elders and we did that whole thing like, oh my God, he knows all the wisdom of the ancestors and the elders. It's like, well, we're not that fucking world, man. Listen to me, okay? I've simulated 16 trillion lifetimes in my goddamn brain because of my autistic, hyper-threaded nightmare head that I have. I've been chasing tigers around more universes than you've inhabited. Well, would that only be one of them? So it may be only two. I do think I'm wise. Honestly, I do a solo podcast. I think I'm interesting because I do a solo podcast. Who does a podcast that doesn't think they're interesting? Okay? Vote for me, hank2028.com.
hang out a lot. You're the sharpest tack in the box. And I know that to be true.
Oh, please.
And I think what's so offensive to me, I love that Jon
Settle this on the Twister court.
Stewart is back.
Left hand on green.
But what's so offensive to me is there's a difference between age and intelligence.
Does she have jewelry inside her ears?
Age and vitality. There's a difference between age and really being up on things and having that quickness of wit that Joy has. Let me just tell you that Martha Stewart's 82. She's still cooking in front of people.
Yeah. She's selling kitty litter.
She's selling, exactly.
Oh,
Robert De Niro and Al Pacino.
Give her the nukes. She's 82. She still sells kitty litter. She still shits in a box. See? What if I just pulled a muscle doing that?
Chino are getting it in. They've got babies in their 80s,
no.
okay?
That's not. Oh, God, advertising. Consume. Video will play after ad. Drink their attention. Suck it up. Get it in me. I need their attention. I need their human attention. I am the demon of the universe. Oh, we're back.
86. Representative Maxine Waters, 85. Bernie Sanders, 82.
Nancy Pelosi, 700. Still doing NVIDIA trading. She made like $1 million something or whatever. She bought like $600,000 worth of NVIDIA stock and then it like shot up like a whole bunch. Still doing insider trading at 84. Bunch of activists dropped off a big bag of shit outside of her house, and now they're prosecuting people for like what paint got on a couple cops, and they're calling it battery. Nightmare society, man. I'm curious what point is she making though? Like the whole point of this is that Joe Biden could do a fucking YouTube channel where he eats chocolate chip cookies, and that would be rad. Former president having fun with food. I don't want him having nuclear weapons or making decisions about this whole world that we're in, particularly if we're risking bringing Trump back into office and all that nightmare. Let's go. Let's keep going.
Nancy Pelosi, 83. I don't know. They look like they know what they're doing. They have the wisdom. They have the history. The problem with this country is that we don't value people with their wisdom. We don't value seniors. We don't value octogenarians. Okay. And I'm sick of this ageism problem. In answer.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I was saying earlier. We treat old people like shit in this country, but that's That's not a reason to put a fucking shitty old one in power. I keep repeating myself. I'm getting boring.
The first question, and then I'm getting to yours. I love Jon Stewart. I think he's hilarious, and I thought.
Oh, this one's
he hit
name
a
is
lot of
Sarah
important notes
Haynes. Sarah has no H because her last name has an H. It'd be weird if Sarah had an H. Then you'd have Sarah Haynes.
last night. One of the things
Perfect commentary, Hank.
you said last week, Alyssa, which was important, is it wasn't age, it was vitality. I don't have a problem with Biden. I voted for Biden. I'm an anyone but Trump, but I was voting for Biden anyway. But I also am honest about the gaffes I see people concerned with, which I think you can have both things right now. And I think that voters are concerned, and by telling them they shouldn't be, or that they're following a Republican narrative by listening to it, you're literally saying, like, close your eyes to what you're seeing, or you're making them feel bad for raising something. And as Jon Stewart said in there, replace age with vitality. He showed stammering in different points with each candidate and said the only record they're breaking as the oldest one is the record they set 4 years ago. So it is a fair concern to say this. We asked people to keep their eyes open on January 6th. I don't think it's fair to tell them to close their eyes to what they're seeing
Okay,
right now.
then don't close your eyes to the tape, the rest of the tape that Jon Stewart showed. Can we look at that,
Yeah, let's
please?
see it, Joy.
The footage of the president unable to recall simple facts must have been brutal to watch.
James Webb. I don't remember the names. I don't remember the name. I don't remember ever.
All right, so Joy wanted us to see them.
Myself.
Did you recall what years you were married to Ms. Maples?
That's probably triggered your misophonia. Again, this is that thing, that like Nimrod liberal thing where it's like, don't ignore the Biden's problems because Trump is also bad, arguably worse. Like if it were only Trump or Biden, I'd prefer Biden in handcuffs, in prison for all the murder. But this is not an argument for Biden. They got to get rid of this guy.
I don't remember.
I just wanted to point out, I don't think anybody is saying close your eyes to what Joe Biden's going through or what people think he's going through. And I do think a lot of it is perpetuated by the media. I think people are saying, okay, we get it. Tell us what we should be doing if we're not doing this. Everyone says, well, we should pay attention. But I will say that 18 months ago, when Biden signed the bill that Jon Stewart fought for.
Yeah,
for 9/11.
And he wasn't too old then. And he's still fighting for it. He's still doing all the stuff that needs to be done, And again, as I said yesterday, yes, he's old, okay. But the minute he stops being productive, and this sounds terrible, but the minute he stops being able to do his presidential duty, he's got to go. But I'm not advocating for him to go. I'm advocating for people to not dwell on the fact that he is an age that we cannot change. And if he's 18 months ago, if he's bad now, I need to see that. Because I don't want to just chuck him out because he's old.
And that's a good point, because what they need to be doing the White House needs to get away from this narrative by putting Biden out there. It was malpractice that he wasn't at the Super Bowl. It was the most watched event since the moon landing.
But how many
He should have been up in the booth with Taylor Swift, chugging brewskis, getting all cheerful, wearing huge earrings. I meant to say bracelets. Big old bracelets, screaming and yelling because their boyfriend is in the tunnel keeping the Gatorade cold, making sure no rapscallions come by and tip it over. Maybe a big box of powdery white paint for the lines. Maybe that's Taylor Swift's boyfriend. Date a regular guy, Taylor. Date a guy whose beard is falling out. Maybe do that. I've always wanted to have a crying meltdown in a private airplane. Ruin some pineapple trays. I think rich people are just surrounded by fruit trays. Pineapple especially. Grapes and pineapple and strawberries. That's what rich people have. everywhere they go, no matter what. Let's okay. I'm not going to finish this whole thing, but
People did he speak to?
Yeah, because you could have reached 123 million eyeballs to show I'm vital, I'm working for you. I fear the reason they didn't put him out is because it would reinforce the narrative that he's not as sharp as he was.
No,
in
how about maybe they didn't put him out because...
It is conjecture, but I believe, why would they turn down an earned media opportunity like that? That's gold. That's political gold.
Because they made a decision.
I turned it down. I turned down that slot. They said, Hank, you want to plug your podcast, winners and geezers? What am I trying to do?
Because everybody bitches him on it. He's so old, he's not on TikTok, he doesn't know. So now he's on TikTok, everybody's still mad.
But my point,
there's a whole bunch of people. He decided to go to the TikTok people. I wouldn't have done it because I don't think that those are the folks, but they are also voters. Yep. So he went to them instead of going where everybody wanted him to go. He's trying to get this stuff done.
He makes jokes about it.
I mean, I know we are in dire straits. I know we are in dire straits, but I don't trust anybody
we need to be
more.
led into the certain doom by a younger person. that's the other funny thing. Like whoever they get to replace Biden, Hakeem Jeffries, for instance, like taking over for Nancy Pelosi, like just a one step down in the generational ladder, is still just going to be on board with like rotten capitalism and like careening humanity straight into one of the many certain dooms. So we got environmental collapse as a certain doom. We've got World War III, particularly some kind of major nuclear exchange. That's definitely a certain doom. The plagues that can easily emerge from a much warmer planet. That's another type of certain doom that's on the way. I think capitalism is just facing all these kinds of crises that it's having a difficult time reconciling, and therefore it's going to convert into its locust phase, which we call fascism. That seems to be a kind of certain doom that's going to cause the downfall of society. Dictatorships are just simply easier for authoritarian dictatorships are simply a simpler and easier way to operate as a society. It cuts out a lot of the annoying bits of collective organizing, which is democracy, which is that you have to have meetings, you have to let other people's voice be heard, you have to tolerate people more if you're going to allow group decision making. So which certain doom is going to get us? And we just need a younger person to lead us into certain doom, not these people. Both of them are like the Democrats. That's what's so fucking scary is like the Democrats are basically like, should I do going off? Okay. Yeah, all right. I was going to do suicide stuff. It's trigger warning, by the way. So I'm not going to do that. But the Republicans are like heading off the cliff aggressively, and the Democrats are heading off the cliff a little bit slower. Like they're not really. Like we're still heading off the cliff because we're encountering and my viewpoint on it, or something that I think is unexplored or not unexplored, but needs to be, or at least is more interesting to me because it's different and is that it's about entropy. It's about the way that we're challenging the entropic limits of wealth creation in our world, the way we conceptualize what that means. And so we don't price pollution, and so which is a way of indebting the future with a problem that we're not solving because they'll deal with it and it's not us. And that's the difference between a planet's carrying capacity and exceeding its carrying capacity, in a sense. So we're cooking our engine too hot because of the quarterly profits that capitalists require. We have to slow that down. We have to trend towards orbital, not launch, right? So the engine is firing so fucking hard because the capitalists can whip us by controlling human needs, because they keep the leverage down, because they want to burn those engines, because they've got this entire emotional and historical, like it's rooted in like the ancient dictates of domination, especially European colonialism and all that, which is causing this engine to burn so hard, which is what you do when you need to escape Earth's gravity. But once you reach a certain point, you just need to do adjustments up there. You still need to burn energy, but you just need to do adjustments. And they're terrified of democracy. That's what unions are. That's what that's the concept of consent. I almost want to call it consensual capitalism is our step away from the current kind we have. To illustrate the idea that we don't really consent. No one would consent to a society that's fucked up. So if we have more democracy, even though there's can be issues in terms of like, yeah, people might vote for things that are bad for them, but like overall though, the capitalists are afraid of democratizing their workplaces and democratizing corporations, because ultimately people are going to vote in their community interest and their self-interest, and that's going to lead towards slowing down that engine burning that we're doing. It's probably still not going to be fast enough. Even in a socialist utopia, we have the consumption issue we have to deal with in terms of like caring for everybody. We still have to work on that entropic thing that we're doing as far as burning that engine too much, having too much, because it's especially, but particularly because we're in the cult. We're kind of like the way like religion fulfills a feeling of community. That's the sticky. That's what makes religion so sticky in society, is that the human instinct to feel connected to a group of people is satisfied oftentimes by church, by religion, by such and such. But it can be kind of phase shifted, sort of like the way like solid liquid gas. It can kind of be upshifted into cult behaviors, which is advanced, which is one of the nutrients that increases that is the desperation that one feels in an economy, and also the opaqueness of the way power is conducted, something they work very hard to maintain. And ultimately, though, democracy is the mechanism for slowing down the burn. But at the same time, though, even if we did reach some kind of more of this metaphor, something closer to orbital energy expenditure instead of firing the rocket as hard as we can because we have to prove to that asshole who we did that crime at the unknown Epstein Island. Like there's all those other Epstein Islands out there, I'm sure. Believe me, they didn't stop the supply. I guarantee you that. The market for that is for sure still operating somehow. In other words, the ruling class, that rat king solidarity that I talk about, you still have to prove you have this like crazed maniacal profit addled madness of the quarterly report. Oh my God, I failed my job. My ego is now bruised because I said we were going to get 7% growth this quarter, because last quarter's growth was only 6.25%, and I only got 6.45% growth, and now I'm a big failure, so we got to fire some people, and we got to make sure that I hit those numbers. What the fuck are we doing? All this shareholder value bullshit. It's absolutely insane. But the point I'm saying, though, is that like socialism doesn't solve that. It probably gives us a few hundred more years to deal with it, though, to work on alternatives. Because ultimately, I don't think people are looking to live. I want the luxury of safety and community, not the luxury of the fanciest countertops I can afford or the latest weird sink that I get because I need to watch. I've seen some weird sinks. I used to install aquariums in people's houses. Poor people ain't buying fancy aquarium. Actually, we would get calls from poor folks too. And I'd be like, all right, I'll sell you the poor person aquarium. All right, well, that's good. That's a fine. I think that rant was kind of a fucked up me there. I don't think I really nailed it, but yeah, it's baldontheinside.substack.com. Keep an eye out for this one. I got a new post about beards. It's kind of fun. I think you might like my writing. I had a propensity for art when I was a little boy, and but I was also very good at language from quite a young age, and writing was kind of one of my earlier creative pursuits. I used to do a whole bunch of poetry and free writing and writing articles and stuff, and way before I clicked over into stand-up comedy. And yeah, so I'm trying to kind of wake that up, because I do feel like there's a lot there, and I think I have some potential, and I've even had some nice feedback from people at various times. So yeah, all right, good. Links in the description. Support. Much more to come soon. Excited. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put up some video game stuff too pretty soon too. I've got a bunch I gotta edit and upload. I've got so much to do. Oh my God. But take care of yourself. Do your meditations. Do some stretching. Read. I read a little bit of a book. I started Jeff Charlotte's book, Undertow. He's a guy I heard an interview with on the Knowledge Fight podcast, and I checked him out, and I like his tweets. And he's a writer teacher guy, but he's like a author writer guy who wrote a book about visiting different areas of Trump country and fascism and stuff like that. So that's a fun read. And I'm also trying to finish this sci-fi series that I started last year. Some people read all the time, man. I used to I gotta get back on that read. The phones are so just like this stupid fucking phone. All the hours I waste. But all right. Good night. Take care of yourself. See you later. Be good. Be good to yourself. What happened wasn't your fault. Don't beat yourself up about it. Goodbye.